Hello. The purpose of this course is to learn more about child safety so that we can make Morrison an even safer place. At the conclusion of the course, there will be a short quiz. This is just to refresh what you've learned and to document that you've finished this course. Now, Morrison's been a relatively safe place for students. Since we started taking records back in 1995, there have been an average of only one report of child abuse each year. Many other international schools that I know have received many more reports than that. We can be thankful for this safe history. Physical abuse is the most common type of report at Morrison. Physical abuse is also the most common form of child abuse here in Taiwan. Reports of all types of child abuse are becoming more common in Taiwan and around the world. In response to this threat, in 2011, the Board of Trustees decided to upgrade our existing child safety system by pursuing membership in CSPN, the Child Safety and Protection Network. CSPN has established child safety standards for international schools and Christian organizations. These standards are aligned with United Nations child safety definitions and standards. The process of meeting CSPN standards is similar to a business that pursues ISO membership, that certifies their best practice standards. Morrison hopes to meet these standards in 2014. Notice Standard 3, that requires background checks for each employee and volunteer. Morrison will help you get these background checks. Notice Standard 4. This training course is required by Standard 4. Sadly, it was recently revealed that an international school in West Africa allowed many children to be physically and sexually abused over a 20-year period. Many children tried to report these horrible abuses, but their parents and the school failed to investigate and to dismiss the offenders. Many of these children were scarred for life because their school did not have adequate child safety safeguards. Closer to home, I was molested by some older boys in a bathroom while my parents were at a meeting. This happened here in Taiwan, but not at Morrison. This incident happened when I was 7 years old, but I didn't tell anybody about it until I was an adult. We can reduce the risk of child abuse by being aware and alert. Abuse can happen subtly. Child safety is everyone's responsibility. Morrison's board policies define child abuse in detailed graphic language. When the school investigates a report of child abuse, it is essential to have clear definitions that are based on well-researched international norms. Adult-to-child abuse is normally characterized by adult abusively exerting power based on his age, size, intelligence, or emotional capacity. Some child-to-child touching among young children can be just innocent exploration. But when there is a significant age difference or size difference, it's also classified as child abuse. The definition of child abuse has changed in my lifetime. Many years ago, a wooden paddle was used by some principals here at Morrison for discipline. Of course, this would now be defined as physical abuse. There's more than 30 nationalities represented here at Morrison. There's many different cultural definitions of what abuse is. Some Asian cultures allow parents to spank or strike their child when they get bad grades. Morrison recognizes these cultural differences, but we choose to follow these CSBN international standards in defining abuse. Can you think of other cultural differences regarding child abuse that could exist in the Morrison community? So, emotional abuse is the use of threats, intimidation, manipulation. This includes cyberbullying. Sexual abuse by adults is usually preceded by a grooming period, where the adult shows interest in the child, makes the child feel special, and sets up opportunities for abuse at a later time. Often, children who are abused sexually are the ones who are naturally compliant. They are often shy and emotionally or physically isolated, with a strong need for affection, attention, or approval. Neglect is very rare in our community, but it's just as real. CSBN standards require that all employees and volunteers sign a code of conduct for child safety. You will have an opportunity to do this at the conclusion of this training session. Notice reason number 4 here. These CSBN safeguards protect employees and volunteers, not just the children. Implementing these safeguards protect us from any false accusations. There are 3 primary safeguards that will reduce the risk of child abuse. We should implement as many of these safeguards as possible whenever we're around children. But we must implement at least one of these 3 safeguards whenever we're around children. Number 1, visibility. Position yourself in a place that is visible to other unrelated adults. You can do this by just standing in view of the window or opening the door. Number 2, accountability. You can do this by phoning a parent before you drive their child home, or by informing the teacher that you're going to stay in the classroom with a student during recess. Number 3, balance power. You can accomplish this by inviting 2 or more students to work on a project together, rather than just one student and one adult. Or, in a vehicle, you can drop off siblings last, or ask the children to sit in the back seat. There are several other safeguards that we could implement. In discipline, we should avoid pushing and holding, or excluding a child, or yelling. Touch. Touch should be in response to the needs of the child and not the needs of the adult. Hugs, shoulder-to-shoulder hugs are generally appropriate, but chest-to-chest hugs should be avoided, especially if you're in a secluded place. Avoid any form of affection that is resisted by the child. Avoid any behavior that could be interpreted as sexual in nature. Avoid assisting the child with anything that they can do themselves. In communication, we should always be wholesome and above reproach. Avoid shaming or belittling or humiliating or name-calling. Avoid using harsh language that may frighten, threaten, or humiliate the child. Avoid comments that are related to body development or any sexually suggestive comments. These safeguards apply to many common school programs, such as field trips or private tutoring. Detailed safety plans for many of these common programs can be found in the staff handbook on your campus. When a student reports abuse to any adult, the adult's first and primary responsibility is to listen and care. But we should never attempt to evaluate the credibility of the report. Here are some good things to say. I'm very sorry about what happened. It's not your fault. You did the right thing to tell me. I really want to help you and support you. But lastly, you really should say, we really need to tell the principal so that we can make sure that everybody's safe. If you receive any reports or you see any indicators of possible abuse, you must tell the principal within 24 hours. Sometimes students will say something like, I need to tell you something, but you've got to promise that you won't tell anybody else. Well, to this you could reply something like, I can't make that kind of a blind promise, but I really would like to help you. I'm concerned about what you want to tell me. Well, I promised you that there'd be a short quiz at the end of this course. This is to demonstrate that you've completed the training. But don't worry, if you don't get the correct answer the first time, just try it again. Everyone's going to get 100% on this quiz. You'll also be asked to read the Code of Conduct for Child Safety. This will be recorded in the Child Safety Training Database so that the principal can see that you've finished this course. But let's just practice what we've learned in this course. There were 3 safeguards: visibility, accountability, and power balance, VAB. There's 3 responses, LAR: listen, accept, report. Thank you so much for taking this course and for making Morrison a safer place for everybody.